Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Edmonton Oilers Throwback 2010 franchise mode here in NHL 25. So in last episode, if you did not catch it, we had the draft and re-sign stage, and it was a pretty damn good draft for us. Of course, we did have the first overall pick, so that made things a little bit easier. But yeah, it was a really good draft for us because obviously, first and foremost, first overall, we grabbed Nathan MacKinnon, which obviously should impact the future of this team quite drastically. Very excited to see what he could do with this young roster going forward. Obviously, him and Cameron are the main guys of this rebuild, it seems like right now. We also did draft a couple other solid players, which I did not sign yet, except for Holinka, who's on our defensive core. He will likely be playing on the top 6 pairing this season, just to kind of wean him into the NHL, and obviously once he's listed as a top 4, we can get him in that spot, but he looks like he could be a solid shutdown defenseman for the future, so excited to see what he could do in his rookie season ahead. And then aside from that, we do have some other solid prospects that we drafted this year. If we sort by age here, you can see we have Nelson, who is a low 6, 66 overall, so solid starting point. We have Holden, who's a 65 overall, medium 6, pretty good starting point. We have Tkachuk as a low 4, so he might be a little bit of a wild card like Nelson is. We also drafted an offensive defenseman with low lead potential in Mackey, so excited to see if he could develop into becoming a number 1 defender down the road. We also got Rodriguez, who's got low lead potential. And then we also, I think we drafted a couple other things, but I can't remember exactly who. But in general, oh yeah, this Rosa guy. We had a medium elite guy. In general, we had a really good draft, though, and I think that's definitely one of those drafts that are definitely going to help quite a bit with our rebuild in Edmonton, and hopefully could take this team into being a Stanley Cup contender like they are in real life right now. So very excited to see, obviously, what this team could do this coming season. I hope that we obviously don't make the playoffs again still this season, but I'm hoping that obviously a lot of the young guys start to develop and progress quite nicely, and then hopefully that makes us more of a playoff team within the next few seasons, and hopefully still competing in the long run. So yeah, just excited to see what everybody could do on this roster. But anyways, before we get into finding out what we pick up in free agency, maybe making some off-season moves, and then getting into another season simulation, depending if we actually look at every team's roster. We might simulate a little bit, not too much, but we are obviously going to be looking at every team's roster. Let's get in your guys' comments, see what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we'll get into all that stuff. So the first comment is from Andy, who says, I love the smell of the Stanley Cup in the morning after drafting Nate Dogg. And speaking of smell of the Stanley Cup, the Oilers obviously winning Game 1 in real life of this year's Cup Finals. Very excited to see if they can actually pull it off. But yeah, I'm hoping Nathan MacKinnon obviously is that type of guy that could take us from being like kind of a young team basically to a young team that could make some really deep runs. Like Nathan MacKinnon obviously should simulate like a really solid player. He's got a lot of X factors, got really good passing stats, great shooting, good offensive awareness. Like all around, he's a solid player except for his physical play. So yeah, hoping that obviously him and Cameron could turn the complexion of this team around. Also, Marcoux as a third-line center would be really nice down the road. Like, at some point, we'll probably move on from guys like Brule, maybe Cogliano as well, because Cogliano has dropped off down to a 79 for some reason. So we might move on from him at some point, too. But we do have, like, Burmistrov, Hodgson. So we do have a lot of young guys eventually coming up. So should be interesting to see how they develop at the NHL. Toffoli as well. So I think we're starting to build up quite the prospect pool, and obviously at some point we'll have to see if it actually all works together. Next comment is from Sanartaku, says, you don't necessarily need that low lead forward, but you'd be crazy not to sign him. As far as the defensemen go, it depends if you want to run Holinka on the second or third pairing. Obviously, if the former, you'd need a top 6. If the latter, you'd want somebody a bit better. And yeah, that's basically true. So first and foremost, a low lead forward that's in free agency. We're definitely going to be going after this guy because there's just no reason not to. Because he is absolutely insane. So the LA Kings drafted a lowly guy, I think it was 6th round, was it? Or was it 5th round? 6th round. And they did not sign this guy to his ELC, despite him being an 81 overall at 21 already. So we are obviously going to be getting ourselves a gift if we could sign him. He did just be on the cup-winning team, basically, but he did not get to play at all in the AHL at any point. So I'm excited to see what this guy could do if we do sign him. Obviously, he's got very good physical attributes. His offensive attributes still need some work. Like, he's got really good shot power, but his offensive awareness, his passing, stuff like that should improve a bit. Looks like he could be maybe a good defensive power forward as well, because he's got shot blocking and the stick checking. So very much hoping that we could sign him, but we probably will utilize him more as a right winger just because his face-off stats are pretty bad. So at the start of the season, we might try and see if we could get him to play right wing as well, or right wing as a primary position if we do sign him. He does have a lot of organizational interest too, so this might be the perfect landing spot for Jacomovs. And like I said, if he does sign with us, he could literally end up being in that top 6 with guys like Cameron, McKinnon, Jordan Eberle, etc. So I think he's definitely a no-brainer to go after in this episode. And then what he was saying with Hlinka, obviously, yeah, that does make a lot of sense. If we do want to run Hlinka as a top 4 defenseman, we'd need to basically to sign at top 6. If we want to run Hlinka on the top 6, we'd need to sign basically a top 4. So likely I'd want to run him on the top 6. I'm okay with running Spies in the top 4 because he's probably not going to get really crazy overall anyways. So I probably will end up signing ourselves a top 4 defenseman at least. And then we might honestly just play somebody random like Plant or Safronov in the lineup because both these guys are actually listed as depth defenders. So there might be a little bit of a weakness on our defensive side of things, but at least some of our younger guys like Hlinka will get an opportunity to play this NHL season. The next comment is from Max Efford, who says, Smitty going to be a free agent next season? And yeah, that's true. Ryan Smith on the LA Kings is going to be a pending free agent at the end of the year. They'll be interesting to see if they re-sign him. There is a chance he might retire before we get a chance to bring him back to Edmonton because he is 37 years old at this point. But we'll see definitely, obviously, if he's a free agent next year, if he does not retire. He's still making a lot of money right now, but like I said, he is a pending UFA. He's been one of the better players in franchise mode for some reason. I don't know if it's just because he's playing next to Kopitar, but yeah, definitely would be nice if we could bring him in, considering he's won some Stanley Cups and all that. Like, maybe he could give some of the young guys on this team some like experience or something like that, some veteran leadership, and maybe we wouldn't win a Stanley Cup with Ryan Smith, but maybe he'd at least help mentor the younger guys and help them kind of understand how to play in certain situations. So there is a chance that we'd look into bringing in Ryan Smith at the end of this upcoming season, depending if he retires or not. And the last two and final comments are from Jared the Rabbit. The first one says, Bjorkstrand will be the only Dane with a name that actually sounds Danish. And yeah, that's pretty much true, because a lot of the generated names for Denmark always seem to be like last names that are not from Denmark. But obviously Bjorkstrand is like one of the more common ones from obviously the NHL. Like, I'm surprised they don't have like Regan or something like that as well. Maybe Nielsen, like from Franz Nielsen. But definitely if we go to like, actually we can't take a look at the draft class, I guess, because we're in the off season. But if we look at like draft classes in the future, like the last names and stuff like that, there's definitely some generated ones from Denmark that are like Smith and stuff like that, which does not make any sense whatsoever. And lastly, Jared says, 1, have fun in Edmonton, Barchi, and to you, Gagne, good luck in Montreal. 2, in Russia, KH makes a sound that doesn't really exist in English, which gets approximated to an H, hence why Habibulin is pronounced the way it is in English. So I guess technically if we ever see a KH in a Russian name, we should pronounce it silent, basically, and don't pronounce the K, just say the H instead. So if it says Kavanov, it'd be like Havanov instead or some shit like that, maybe. I'm not too sure exactly, but that's basically what he's trying to say. So that way we kind of know how to pronounce those last names a bit more accurate to how they should be pronounced, I guess. So with that said, let's get to those free agent signings. Also, we'll see if we decide to upgrade our scouting staff and all that, but definitely we're going to be looking at bringing in Jacomovs here. He's a no-brainer. He's a really good young player. Obviously, he could be somebody that we maybe don't utilize down the road, but he also could be something really good for this team, because since he's a power forward, I feel like having him next to like a sniper and a playmaker or something like that, like McKinnon and Cameron are both playmakers. So if we get snipers to play on those same lines, like if we get, for instance, Jordan Eberle on the same line as him, or another sniper down the road like Nail Yakupov, like it could be a really good line. So I think Jacomovs should be a guy to bring in, and I'm really hoping that he will accept us over other teams. Like, there's no teams interested in him right now, so let's hope that he would be willing to join our Edmonton Oilers team. So, and he immediately accepted. Wow. Was not expecting him to accept right off the gate. I thought he would have just waited maybe a day or so, but despite it being day one of free agency, he's like, bro, I want to join your team, and I really appreciate players like that. Obviously, Sam Gagner, on the other hand, not a player that I appreciate, because he was like, nah, man, I don't want to sign. Even though you're giving me all this money, I just don't want to sign with your team. So that's a really nice little addition for our team that he immediately accepts on the first day of free agency. So now we have Jacomovs added to the young prospect pool of McKinnon, Cameron, Marcoux, Like guys like Gustav Nyquist, even Carl Hagelin, right wing side Jordan Eberle, Tyler Toffoli. Like, we're definitely starting to build up that core quite nicely. So very, very excited to see what this team could do going forward. Obviously, the goaltending's still a little bit weak. Like, Dubnik's not as good as we were anticipating, but Grubauer maybe could be the guy. Vasilevsky maybe could be the guy down the road too. So yeah, it's exciting. Let's also sign ourselves a defenseman. We're going to be looking for a top 4 left-handed defenseman, probably, I think, right? Yeah, probably a left-hander because we might use Alex Plante on that top 6, so we'd already have 3 right D. So, I mean, if I use Plante as a depth defenseman and I played Safronov this season, maybe I'd need a top 4 right D. Well, we'll look for a right D or a left D. Doesn't really matter, I guess, too much in that sense. So let's see what there is for defenders available. Obviously, we'll see what the AI teams sign as well. But let's see what we got here. So we don't want somebody too good. Like, I feel like Nick Hjalmarsson at this stage might be too good of a defenseman, and he might make us oversimulate a bit. But our defensive core is not super, super strong. So maybe Nick Hjalmarsson could be interesting. But I just feel like there's a lot of teams interested in him right now. So it'd be kind of a tough one to win. Also, I feel like at some point, anyways, Nick Hjalmarsson would get replaced by Hlinka if Hlinka develops nicely. So we probably don't want somebody too high-end. Like, we'd probably prefer for somebody like maybe an 81 overall. Somebody like Chris Russell, I think, actually could work perfectly still. I was looking at him in the last episode because he is listed as a top 6 defender. And he's an 81 overall at 26. He's a really good shot blocker, of course. Might fit our top 6 pairings as well. So I think we're going to bring in Chris Russell. He does want 3 years. I honestly might be willing to just give him 3 years and then we trade him away if we don't need him after all. So let's give him... We do need cap whales, correct? Yes, we do. Okay, I guess we're going to overpay a bit on Chris Russell. But then if I did that, then I'd have to give him only a 1-year deal. Trying to think. Maybe I'll sign some depth forwards randomly or something too, to like kind of crazy contracts. But let's give Chris Russell maybe a little bit more money than he's asking for. 3x3. That might not be that bad. Yeah, let's do a 3x3 for Chris Russell. I think that's a decent deal. And he'll immediately accept as well, so that's great. Chris Russell's on board. And then we have still $34 million in cap, so that's where I'm saying we need to bring in some random free agents as well for the AHL. We probably need to sign like 2 guys to $10 million contracts and play them in the minors. So it is a bit outrageous having to do this still, but at some stage we won't have to deal with it when like Nathan McKinnon wants a shit ton of money. So let's sign 2 random forwards, likely to play in the AHL, but they might have a chance to be like a bottom 6 option for this team too. So what do we want? Justin Abdelkader could be one of those guys, to be honest. He's like not a bad option. He's a younger kind of guy for the bottom 6, so let's bring in Abdelkader as well, just to give a little bit more internal competition, and we're going to give him a shit ton of money. I don't think he's worth much anyways in terms of trading, so to give him like a 1-year deal at $10 million bucks. Take the money there, Justin. You're welcome. And we'll do one more player as well, but maybe a little bit less. Like, how much more cap do we need to get to the floor? Out of curiosity, because I don't want to be too much under. Probably another $10 million contract would get it done, I think. So we'll see if we can find another player similar to Justin Abdelkader, maybe preferably a center. But we'll look for a depth forward instead. Somebody that we could always throw into the AHL. So somebody like Mike Santorelli, or is it Mike Santorelli? Yeah, he'd be perfect. Yeah, because he could honestly play in the AHL, or he could be back in the NHL like he was in year 1. So I think Santorelli is going to be the other option. Maybe he helps out our IHL team. Maybe stays in the NHL. And we're also going to give him $10 million to either be a depth forward or a 4th line forward or an AHL forward. But I think our AHL team needs kind of guys like this anyways. So let's do a $10 million deal, 1 year as well. And boom, we're down to 15.995. Do we need any more money before we hit the floor? No, we do not. We're at the floor now. Perfect. Apparently, a lot of people are losing morale because we brought in Santorelli, but they shouldn't really because we're prioritizing them over Santorelli, so hopefully they're a little bit okay with that. All right, do we need to upgrade our scouts? It is always an optional thing to upgrade our scouts. Because our scouts right now, we do have some B-rated scouts, and there's probably more A-rated ones. Let's see how much A-rated scouts are available in free agency. There's only one. I mean, I could bring in the Swift guy, I guess. Yeah, we'll bring in Swift, and we'll just fire one of our B scouts. So Marty Swift will give you a contract. And is there any B-rated OHL scouts? It wouldn't be easier. There is not. Alright, so we'll just get rid of, I guess... We'll get rid of... who do I want to get rid of? We'll get rid of LaHoo and replace him with Swift. So I just got to make sure I do that at the start of the season. So let me just write that down somewhere so I remember. So let's just write down LaHoo fired Swift in as a WHL. Okay, perfect. Just see if I can remember that now. Okay, perfect. So scouts are good with. We don't really need to make any coaching adjustments either, I don't think. Because we already got our coaches. I mean, I could look for some better associates maybe to go with Chapman. Since we have kind of a young core starting, we don't want to have too bad of coaches. So maybe I'll bring in a new associate and a new assistant as well. Just to kind of change things up a little bit with our coaching staff. There is a guy named Jay Pogge. And his name is Joel. Unfortunately, I was hoping he'd be a Justin Pogge, just because obviously that case. But let's see if there's anybody with good teaching grades. There's a couple right here. We'll probably just bring in ones with good teaching grades. We don't care about their team fit right now, just as long as they have a good teaching fit and overall. We'll try and bring them in just to try and make our young guys do a little bit better this season. Because I don't want to be like super bad this year, but I don't want to be super good either. So this might make us over-simulate, but if it does, obviously we could make some adjustments to the coaching staff. But let's bring both those coaches in, and we will get rid of our other two ones just for the time being. Because now that we have Nathan MacKinnon, I feel like we don't want to be as bad, because obviously MacKinnon needs to be on a good team probably. So let's fire Skirbick, and we also fire Zigomanis. I believe Neuwirth is already a good goalie coach, correct? I know he's rated as a D, but does he have good teaching? Yeah, he has good teaching, so we'll keep on to Neuwirth. And then the AHL coaching staff could stay the same. Alright, is there anything else we need to do before we sim through some free agent signings? I guess some off-season focuses would be good, but I'm not too sure where I want to address. I guess I should talk to Jankomovs. Can I already ask him about changing positions? Probably not yet, right? No, I have to wait till the start of the season. Let's try and get him better at faceoffs anyways, just in case he doesn't want to fully play right wing. Well, like, we will use him still as a right winger, but I do want him to see if he could get better at faceoffs a bit. So that way we could use him maybe in both situations. And then Cameron, I mean, I guess we could try and get him better in terms of his passing. Or actually, let's get his offensive awareness up there. I feel like that's always important, even though he's already good at offensive awareness probably. Let's just try and improve him as much as possible. And then Nathan MacKinnon, I guess we could probably... Like, Nathan MacKinnon's already a really good passer. I don't remember how good he's in terms of offensive awareness, but let's maybe keep on trying to get him to improve on face-offs or something like that as well. Perfect. Anybody else I want to address? Maybe Jordan Eberle, try and get his shooting categories better. Like, I don't really want to talk to every single player, but I think it is important we do this type of thing in this franchise mode. I know some of you guys find this boring, but I think it is kind of important just because we're still a young team. Obviously, if we were contending and stuff like that, we wouldn't be focusing on this, but since we are rebuilding, we want to make sure our top young guys are getting that growth that they actually deserve, because if they don't grow enough, then that might prolong our rebuild a little bit longer. So sit back, enjoy this a little bit. If you want to skip ahead, you can, but I mean, you guys could always see what I'm doing too on this part, because this is kind of important, I guess, for our rebuild. And hopefully it's this little type of stuff that we do here early on that takes this team into being a cup contender eventually down the road. So let's keep getting Marcoux better at faceoffs too, because since he's a two-way forward, I want him to maybe be a finals for Selke at some point. Let's also go to Hlinka, since he's one of the younger options. And obviously we will try and get him to become a ace defensively. Let's get his defensive awareness up there a bit more. He's got some really good attributes defensively, but if we can make him a full-on good shutdown defender, that'd be fantastic. Aside from that, everybody else, I don't think... Toffoli maybe matters a little bit. A lot of other guys don't matter too much, but just want to make sure we get the right guys at least. So we'll try and get Toffoli to become even better at shooting. I know he's good at right now, but obviously taking it to the NHL level is going to be interesting. Now, I hope that he's just as good as Eberle, pretty much. Aside from that, I think we'll keep the rest the same. So that's all good. I think we're ready to start simulating. I think we are. Yeah, let's simulate through this first month of free agency, see what teams sign up. But there is a chance we might not simulate much in this episode in terms of regular season, but I kind of want to simulate a little bit, but we might not. Asher Baird's on board as the assistant coach. Welcome aboard. And Marty Swift is on board, obviously, as the scout. And Agon's on board as the associate coach. Nice. So we got our coaches that we wanted. We got that scout that we wanted. That's nice. Decline, and we don't need any trade offers. I mean, I could get trade offers. Maybe I should edit my block so I don't get any. I don't know. Yeah, some of these offers are kind of annoying. Let's decline and edit trading block right now, just to try and get no offers thrown at us, because it's just, I don't know. I don't really want offers too often this off season. And we're still getting some, even though I just removed stuff from my block. That's kind of annoying. I do not want Rob Blake. I do not want anybody that's that old. Oh, actually, it's because it's in the wants, not in surplus. Let's just remove the wants as well. Because, actually, we do kind of want first-round picks and stuff, but we do not care about, like, fourth or later. I wonder how this draft class is going to be ahead, because technically now we're going to be going into the stage where it's not custom draft classes, so this would be coming up the Aaron Ekblad draft, but obviously Aaron Ekblad won't be in it. I wonder what the actual Connor McDavid draft will be like in this, though, too. Like, what generated players will be in it. Alright, so first month of free agency done. Let's see what AI teams signed up and if there was any off-season trades so far. Just because obviously it should be interesting to see that. So there has been some off-season trades. So Tim Gleason and Colby Armstrong are on the way to the Florida Panthers from Calgary. I think they must have signed there because I don't know if they were in Calgary before. Andy Green on San Jose now for Bruno Gervais. I know Bruno Gervais was a free agent, so some people are signing players and literally flipping them. Paul Mary goes to Minnesota from Ottawa. Chris Drury on his way to LA. Looks like Calgary signed a lot and immediately flipped it, which is kind of funny. Anthony Mantha and Dmitry Jaskin, so two prospects on their way to Philadelphia from Boston. Boston gets back Antti Miettinen, kind of a weird one. And that's it for trades. Signing-wise, any crazy trades? Alan Quine gets his ELC from the Islanders. I wonder if he actually got drafted by the Islanders in this too, because that would be kind of sick. Nick Cousins got a deal in Philadelphia too. Damn, a couple realistic deals early on. And I forgot that we let go of guys like Schmid and Lewis. They get contracts elsewhere. So Lewis goes to Phoenix, and Schmid is off to Florida. Aside from that, let's see what else we got. Florida signing a bunch of people. Adam McQuaid left us for Philadelphia. Samsonov going back to Montreal, where he played for a bit. That's cool. Aside from that, Andrew Burnett to New Jersey. Wasn't he the head coach of the Devils at one point, or is he currently? I gotta look that up now. I feel like he's the head coach currently, because I know he was in Nashville at one point too. Maybe he's now in Nashville. Oh my goodness, I went full screen. Did not mean to go full screen. Let's go Brunette. Where is he head coaching now? Where is he head coaching now? It is Nashville. Okay, he was the associate in New Jersey. That's what I was thinking of. And I know he played for the Devils at one point, right? No, he didn't play for the Devils. Why am I'm thinking of Brian Rolston. Goddamn. But yeah, he did used to coach in New Jersey for a bit. So to see him sign with New Jersey is kind of funny in this. Steven Gionta went to the Islanders like real life. That's pretty sick. A lot of guys are actually signing with teams they've played for. So I like the realism. Ray Whitney going to Vancouver. It's kind of an interesting one. Taylor Pyatt to the Thrashers. Glenn Cross to Florida. Patrick Eliash to the Islanders. I feel like that's a little bit of a weird one, obviously, because the Devils and the Islanders are kind of close in terms of locations, so kind of a weird one. Aside from that, any other interesting signings? Just a bunch of random names. A lot of generated guys, too, getting their ELCs at the moment. Lindback to Montreal. A lot of no-names, pretty much. Well, actually, I wouldn't call them no-names. Players you'd know, but still kind of no-names. Michel Ouellet going back to Pittsburgh, where he started his career. So that's cool. Nigel Dawes, Tampa. All right. Sergei Kostitsyn, who actually recently retired like the other day. I think that might have been yesterday that happened. So 2 days before you guys see this episode. I think he recently retired because he was still playing in Belarus. Brian Bickle signs in Tampa. Interesting. Anything else? Langkow to Ottawa. Wingles to Tampa. Letestu going back to Pittsburgh. Sammy Salo in Columbus. Cleary in Florida. Tony Ludman going back to Buffalo again. Schubert did sign again in Atlanta. Damn, he's staying in Atlanta. Craig Conroy, New Jersey. Anything crazy, though? So far, it's a bunch of random names. There's a random one. Timo Solani has signed with the Nashville Predators on a 1-year contract. So he will not retire a Duck. He will maybe retire as a Nashville Predator. Interesting. Where he slots into that. Like, I wonder how far much he's dropped off at this point. Vokun signs in Ottawa. That's kind of a weird one because around this point he would have been, I guess, a couple years out from being in Pittsburgh. Aside from that, Dupuis in Buffalo, Hagman re-signing in Calgary, Rod Brindamore to Dallas. Kind of weird. Okay. Mike Commissar to the Islanders, Pascal Leclerc to Anaheim, Frolov to Dallas. Random names. Scott Hartnell going back to the Nashville Predators. That's kind of funny, because he did start in Philadelphia. So Nashville has signed Solani and Hartnell. So wonder if those guys are going to get to play on the same line or not. Jeff Delorier, our former backup, signs in Atlanta. I think Tyler would be approving of that, because Tyler, who's the Delorier fan, he was also a Thrashers fan, or still is technically a Thrashers fan, you could say. But yeah, he'll be very happy with that signing, I think, if Jeff Delorier going to the Thrashers. Technically, at this point, it would have been the Jets, but obviously this universe, the Jets never happened. Zubov in Florida. Milan Hajduk going to the Islanders. All right. Kovalev to Minnesota. Paul Kariya going to Nashville. So Nashville also adds in Paul Kariya. So shout out to Paul Kariya and Timo Solani, who are signing with the same team again, just like they did in 2004. Because obviously in 2004 they were both on Colorado. Sullivan to Ottawa. Manny Malhotra to Toronto. Isn't he an assistant coach in Toronto right now? Or am I just dumb? Or is it in Vancouver? It might be in Vancouver. I feel like he was coaching in Toronto, though, wasn't he? I gotta double check on that shit. Let's check. Manny Malhotra. Oh, yeah, he is an assistant coach in Toronto, or he was last season. That's why I remember that. But now he's the head coach at Abbotsford Canucks, who are almost in the Calder Cup finals in real life. So that's kind of an interesting one, too. I'm just a bit of a year behind on some of these coaching stuff. So Rob Blake signed in Ottawa. Benoit Pouliot, Tampa. He's played there before. Aside from that, Regier in Dallas. Grabner gets a 3-year deal in Florida. I'm pretty sure he played there, if I remember right. A lot of other names. Brian Rolston to St. Louis. Nisimov to Dallas. Hornqvist to Buffalo. Elliott signs in Columbus. Brian McCabe to Columbus as well. Peter Mueller gets a 1-year deal in Buffalo. James Neal goes to Buffalo. So Buffalo getting a couple young players. That's good for them. Ryan Precht and Talbot move on. Yeah, a lot of random names still in this free agency. Marcus Naslund gets a 1-year deal back in Vancouver. That I love to see. Naslund used to be one of my favorite players, so that is definitely something that I find pretty sick. Because Marcus Naslund's kind of one of the more underrated players of the 2000s. Doesn't get enough credit, I feel like. But obviously, in real life, he was with the Rangers. Then went overseas to Sweden and then retired. But now, this universe, he might get the retires of Vancouver Canuck after spending time. I think it was in Boston in this so far. So that's kind of neat. Kind of neat. Aside from that, I mean, Brendan Morrison to Pittsburgh. Chris Drury saw in Calgary already. 5-year deal for Zbigniew McCulloch in Philadelphia. Interesting. Strike gets a deal in Columbus. Ron Hainsey went to the Leafs. That's kind of funny. Kind of funny. Rich Peverly got a 5-year deal in Florida as well. Clarkson signed a 3-year deal in Boston. Hopefully they didn't overpay. 5-year deal for Lupul in New York. Turris signs another 1-year deal in Philly. Or not in Philly, in Phoenix, my God. Chalmerson gets a 5-year deal in Minnesota. Chara going back to the Bruins again on a 1-year deal to retire there probably. Burroughs gets a 4-year deal with the Ottawa Senators. That's realistic too. I mean, it wasn't at this point. It was in 2017 he got dealt to the Ottawa Senators, but he gets to go to the Sens a bit early. Interesting. Chris Stewart signs in Boston. Vishnofsky got a 1-year deal in Washington. Weiss signs in Dallas. And Ben Bishop gets a 6-year deal with the Florida Panthers. So he won't be joining Tampa around this point in time. He'll be joining the Florida Panthers instead. Interesting. I kind of like that free agency period. A lot of big name signings, a lot of weird ones, and a lot of ones where players went back to where they used to play. So that's definitely pretty cool. Pretty cool. So let's continue to simulate to next season. We'll get our lineup set up, obviously, and we'll take a look at some lines around the league. We might simulate a little tiny bit of the upcoming season, depending on what we got to do in terms of season focuses and stuff like that. So let's get at lines and see what we're working with for the upcoming season. Hopefully we got a decent lineup going. So in terms of goalies, obviously it's going to be Dubnyk and Grubauer. Dubnyk's only an 80 overall, so our goaltending not the strongest. Vasilevsky's already listed as a backup. I was thinking about maybe trading Tuomainen because he might be scratched, but maybe this is the year we think about moving on from Dubnyk already. That's an interesting dilemma. Because I was not expecting Vasilevsky to list it as a backup right before the season starts. Like, we could run Grubauer and Vasilevsky. And then Dubnyk, who is only signed for 2 more years after this, we could always try and trade him already. I want your guys' opinions on that. Do you think it would be good to run Grubauer and Vasi already? Or should we run Vasi and Danielson in the AHL and then Tuomainen sits on the bench or gets dealt? Like, we definitely should make a decision with that. In terms of defense, we got Petrie, Falk, Russell, Helenka, Plant, and Spiza. We do need a depth defenseman. Safronov is listed as a depthy and is up to a 77. Zhurdev's a 76. We'll call up Safronov, but we need to send somebody down. But Safronov will likely be playing, which means likely Plant will be the healthy scratch. But I'm excited that Safronov's growing this fast. He's only a top 6 defensive prospect, but he's developing quite well. He is a DFD that has not good defensive awareness, though, so that's definitely an area we need to get him to focus on in the offseason going forward. So, just got to remember on that. I don't even remember how we acquired him because he came from the Florida Panthers. I don't remember what deal it was. But, yeah, he's definitely going to be playing in the NHL this year. All right, in terms of forwards, what do we got? We got Eberle, Toffoli, and Enver Leeson. Leeson might get sent down. We'll see. Yakupov's up to a 76. He's going to be first line in the AHL probably. Or he's going to be up there at least with Fada, Shaw, stuff like that. We have a lot of good AHLers. Aside from that left wing side of things, we got Nyquist, Hagelin, and Abdelkader. Payarvi probably could spend another year in the minors. He's pretty close. Barchi as well. Barchi's actually listed as a depth forward, so that's probably why he was playing. Zach Boychuk should probably be up here because he's listed as a third line scoring forward. Hypothetically. So maybe we'd call him up and we'd send Leeson down. And then centers, oh my god, we have a lot of centers. We have Cameron, McKinnon, Brule, Jake Moss, Marcoux, Hodgson, Nash, Santarelli, and Cogliano. Well, since we need to send down 2 people, we definitely need to send down a forward. I'm going to lean towards sending down Enver Leeson. And we need to send down 1 more player. Probably, yeah, we need to send down 2 forwards. So, it's not going to be Cogs. It's probably going to be Santarelli. But that means guys like Riley Nash might be a healthy scratch. But oh my god, the amount of 2-way contracts we also have on our NHL roster is kind of insane. So, I'm going to send down Santarelli and Leeson. And we're going to probably run a bunch of centers as wingers. We might have to see if we could try and convert these guys, some of them to left wings as well. Or right wings. But it depends on who has the worst face-off stats. Most of them have actually okay face-offs. Jankumov's obviously we'd use as a right winger. So, but damn. That's a lot of centers at the moment. Alright, let's go best lines in the AHL and NHL. And we are going to first, before we actually edit our lines, we're going to go ahead and talk to Jankumov's already and see if he's willing to be a right winger. Because if he is willing to be a right winger, that'd be nice. We are going to use him as a right winger regardless. But I think we need him to play right winger. So on ice play. Position. Let's see. We could try and get him to outright change. It says it's actually very convincing to change position. So I think I'm going to try and flat out change him out of the position. He's just not good at face-offs. We could try and get him to play both. It's apparently risky to just get him to add a secondary position, so let's try and just get him to change out flat out his position. And he says, don't tell me I'm playing defense. Don't worry, man. You're not playing defense. We would get you to play right wing if you would want to play right wing. I'm not going to change a forward into a defenseman. So are you willing to play right wing for us? And it says failed. That's weird. It went from like being very convincing on the asking the initial question to risky. But we are going to still use you as a right winger. I know you said that you don't want to, but we are still going to use you as a right winger. It just sucks that he doesn't want to fully change his position yet. We are definitely going to be able to at some point, I would assume. All right, let's go to edit lines and see what we're working with then. So now we have everybody in the right spot. So we are going to be using Cameron as the top line center. McKinnon's probably going to be playing second line to start. And then I think we're going to have Eberle as first line right wing still. And we're going to use Jankumovs as second line right wing. Brule playing third line center. Toffoli on the third line right wing. Oh my goodness, I actually really like this team already. The way it's like developing is actually really nice. And Marcoux is going to be the fourth line center. I don't know about having Riley Nash in the lineup. Boychuk's listed as a third line scoring forward, so he probably needs to be playing over somebody like Justin Abdelkader, but Abdelkader's listed as a fourth liner, so I do not want to scratch Hodgson. No, he's a really good AHLer, hasn't gotten a chance yet at the NHL level, so I think we're going to take Riley Nash out. And we're going to put in Hodgson on that right wing side of things. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do there. And then Boychuk should be probably playing, but there's nowhere really I could put him in, so I probably might want to call up somebody else as a depth forward instead. Burmistrov's an 80 overall, but still a depth forward. I mean, I could call up Santorelli, I guess, as that other depth forward option. Like, technically, Boychuk should be playing, but I would probably prefer to play Abdelkader. Like, we're definitely going to have to probably move on from Boychuk. I think he's a pending free agent soon anyways. He was more of a cap whale, right? Maybe not a cap whale, actually. Yeah, he's only signed for the 1 year, so we might honestly look to trade him as well. And then we'll call up, we'll just call up Santorelli, because Santorelli's okay to be a scratch. Let's go best AHL lines again. So that way, our AHL team is going to be completely stacked. And our NHL team is going to be pretty solid with young talent too. Like, we're definitely going to have to make some tough decisions with trades and stuff eventually. Defensively, we are going to take Plante out of the lineup. I want to use Hlinka as a top 6 defenseman. So we're going to take Plante out. And we're going to throw in Safronov. Oh, that pairing is still -3? Or no? It is still -3. Okay, we might have to rework this a little bit here. Hlinka might have to play higher up. Let's see. Okay, if we move Petrie down, that works. But I don't know if about having Petrie on the top 6 pairing. But that honestly might be the best play. Unless I did Russell down there. And Hlinka down there. Okay. Oh, nope. That didn't work. Thought it was going to, but there's lag. I guess we could go with that. We could run Petrie, like, down there. I don't really want to have Safronov so high up in the lineup, though. But he is a rookie. I guess we'll run with something like this. I mean, it's not necessarily ideal. I mean, we could go with that, too, actually, for that matter. Because having Falk on the top line probably makes a bit more sense. Yeah, we'll go with something like that. I don't really like having Petrie that low, but I don't want my chemistry to be too bad down there. And the goalies, like I said, Vasilevsky could get called up, potentially. Yeah, this looks like a pretty solid young team so far. Definitely moving on from Brule is maybe a priority. Moving on from Cogliano might be a priority. Because Cogs is listed as a third-line scoring forward, so technically Hagelin could be up in the top 6 if we really wanted. But, this is looking nice. And in AHL, like, we have so much good AHL talent that, like, guys like Burmistrov, Sven Berchi, Nail Yakupov, Zach Boychuk, Enver Leeson, Chris Vandeville, Andrew Shaw, like, all these guys should probably be in the NHL, which is kind of insane. Let's just make sure we have our top prospects in the right spot. And we have crazy guys scratched, too. I mean, Omark's okay to be a healthy scratch. Nikushkin obviously should not be scratched. So, We're going to take Zach Boychuk fully out of the lineup in the AHL and give this chance to Nikushkin as a top-line guy, and then just swap him and Yakupov on their sides. God damn. We have so many prospects. It's actually kind of insane. Like, I kind of want Barchi in the NHL in a way because we just traded for him, but we almost don't even need him. That's the crazy part. Holy moly. Any of these guys take faceoffs? Laddie technically could be maybe more of a top 6 center instead, just because he could take faceoffs. Boone Jenner obviously could take faceoffs too. So I'll probably move Boone to a center spot. That way we could get guys maybe a little higher in the lineup. Let's go maybe like that. Yeah, that might be a little bit better. That way we're kind of prioritizing the youth movement a bit down there in defense and offense. Payarvi's playing defense. Oh my god. Yeah, we have too many forward prospects. Payarvi does not work on any pairing whatsoever, so we have to just find the best spot for him, which honestly is pretty much nowhere. Unless we move somebody else instead. Yeah, I don't know what else we could do, really. Well, I guess we're going to have to run with that, which is not ideal. And then, yeah, like I said, Tuomainen being scratched, probably not a great idea, so we do have to make a decision with the goalies probably in the next episode. So there is that all set up and ready to go for the AHL and the NHL. I think that is good. Let's take a look at some lines around the league. And obviously then we might simulate through the preseason just to see what our lines are doing. I don't know if we'll simulate any of the regular season yet. It is only 42 minutes into this recording, so maybe I can. And maybe I can. It depends on, I guess, what the time is once we look through these lines. But let's take a look at what the AI teams have in their lineup. So if there's any crazy changes. I mean, the Ducks still kind of look like a Ducks team, except for obviously Mike Comrie, Doan being there. Mikkel Bodker's there. Defensively, it's kind of a weak defensive core, but shout out to Justin Schultz for being in the lineup. Hiller and Leclerc look solid. Jake Gardner's a healthy scratch, same as Sammy Vatanen. I don't know why they're scratching those two guys, but oh well. Atlanta looks actually pretty good. They are the Jets technically at this point. They look actually really solid. Like, they brought in guys like Molson and Higgins and Ryder. Like, they definitely surrounded some of their guys with good players. So this is definitely a much better looking Thrashers team than it was in the first year. Their defense is still maybe questionable. Enstrom's good, but obviously everybody else is kind of like a top 6 defender. So that could be better. Goalies Pavlik and Kudobin's okay. Dougie Hamilton is scratched and Paul Postma is scratched. Why would you scratch Dougie Hamilton when you have like Melanger Cena in your lineup? This is sometimes why I don't want to really look at the lines, but it's kind of fun just to see where players went. In terms of Boston, they still look like a Bruins team. Brad Marchand's still playing second line, which is kind of weird because Mark Savard's only an 85, but Mark Savard should be retiring soon. Marchand gets to play with Yager, which is kind of sick. Antti Mietin in there. Bruins still look really solid. They look really strong on that right wing side. Like, they signed Chris Stewart, and he's playing fourth line minutes. Their defense is still strong as hell too, and goaltending still good. Jason LaBarbera is the backup now though, behind Tuukka Rask. Marco Sturm's still there. Obviously the new head coach of the Boston Bruins, so that's kind of neat. And David Clarkson was signed for a 3-year deal, and he's going to be used as a healthy scratch. Interesting. And he did get a modified no-trade clause. Not a crazy high-priced contract, but shout out to Clarkson for securing a clause. Buffalo. Looks like a Buffalo team pretty much. David Moss is there now. I think he was on a different team before, right? Yeah, he was on San Jose. Look at the drop-off, though. He used to have like 66 points, and now he's a 39-point guy. So definitely kind of a one-season wonder, it seems like, right now. Aside from that, Fedotenko, Hornqvist is there now. Still kind of a weird Buffalo team. Definitely they've made a lot of adjustments since the first year. Ryan Miller and Ross still. James Neal is a scratch. Peter Mueller's a scratch. Sergei Kostitsyn's a scratch. They literally signed all 3 of these guys in free agency. And all 3 of them are just going to be bench guys because they would rather play Sean Avery, guys like Fedotenko. I honestly don't understand that. The Calgary Flames look pretty damn good. They already have a replacement for Iginla once Iginla decides to retire in Ross LaBarbera. Iginla is dropping off a lot, so this might be one of the last years you see Iggy in this franchise mode, unfortunately. Hagman on the fourth line. Damn, he's dropped off a lot. Defensively, it's an okay defensive core. And then goalies, Kiprusoff is still the starter as a 79 overall, so he's dropped off a lot. Lacosta's still the backup. Interesting. Carolina looks pretty good still. Obviously, we dealt them Penner. They have Gagne. They have Hunter. They have this guy named Pekarainen, who they drafted second round. Damn, good steal there. And they also have Charpentier, who they drafted third overall recently. So they are building up a nice little young prospect pool as well with guys like Radulov down there, Saad down there. Nice. What about defense? Pitkinen and Mike Garino. Yeah, I forgot Mike Green signed there. That contract is still a bit of an anchor, but he should help them out a lot. McBain and Jake Muzzin. That's actually a nice second pairing. And then Fister, Krejcik is okay. Goalies, Cam Ward, Telquist. Interesting Carolina team. Chicago still looks friggin' strong. Definitely they're strapped a bit for cap because Pavel Buchnevich is playing as a 72 overall, but maybe they're trying to develop him faster. They also have this guy named Jonathan Baker who they drafted who's looking pretty good. Defensively, oh my god. Yeah, they're looking still like a really good team. Nick Holden's playing though as a 75. Crawford and Erzberg. Yeah, Chicago definitely still a cup contender. Colorado looks solid. Yeah, not bad. Vlad Tarasenko's in the lineup. Alright, defensively, Suter signed there. I forgot about that. Tyson Barrie's in the NHL now too. Is this his first season coming up? No, his third season. Or actually technically second, I guess, in a way. And then goalies, who they got? Niemi and Budai. Alright. We head to Columbus. Columbus is building up an actually a pretty good team, too. They've drafted quite well, like Olsen between Nash and Voracek is fantastic. They have Zibanejad and Jake Gensel playing next to Antoine Vermette. We gave them Sean Horkoff, Cam Atkinson's playing third line. Yeah, that's actually not that bad Columbus team, especially down the middle. Like Teuvo Teravainen has also made the NHL. Calvert's there. It's a good team. Defensively, Lyle Strollman, Streit signed there as a free agent. Same with McCabe. Yeah, Columbus is actually looking nice. And Steve Mason's only an 80 overall, so despite me making him a medium starter, he never really developed into becoming that number one goalie, which is realistic, but goddamn. Never played in the playoffs so far, so we'll see if Columbus makes a playoff run this year. David Savard scratched, and some guy named Jerry Hewitt, who was drafted second round. Dallas, what do you got? Still a strong left side, but not as strong as it used to be. Jamie Benn's now taken over as that top line left winger. He's playing with Richards and Weiss. Alex Killorn still developed really nicely for Dallas. He's playing with Thomas Tatar. Rod Brindamore is there now as a 75 overall. Damn, I didn't realize he dropped off so hard. That's crazy. Brendan Morrow's still down there. Riley Smith has made it. Thomas Vinsour. Defensively, Tom Gilbert obviously still there. Alright, yeah, this Dallas Stars team's still good. Turco is still there. I'm surprised Marty Turco is just staying this entire time in Dallas. I mean, he probably should have in real life because obviously kind of weird when he played in Chicago and Boston, but damn. And Reynolds, who was drafted 10th overall, is scratched. I don't like that, but I'm not going to try and look at those type of things. Detroit. Filppula, Datsuk, Zetterberg. Yeah, still a pretty typical Detroit team with a few new pieces in. Definitely strapped for cap, though, because Landon Ferraro and Andrei Burakovsky are already playing. Defensively, still pretty strong. Obviously not as strong as the days when Lidstrom was there, but Kronwall's still there. Brian Rafalski at an 81 overall. Goalies, Jimmy Howard, Matthew Guerin. Scratches, Lashoff has made it, and same with Brendan Smith. In terms of the Florida Panthers, Alex Hemsky's still obviously their top line right winger. How has he been since he's joined the Panthers? Really good. Last season he was worse in terms of plus minus, but I guess they didn't make the playoffs last season, but he did produce more. So he's getting better and better in Florida. Mason Raymond's still there. Yeah, interesting Florida team. Definitely better than they probably were at this point in real life, maybe. And goalies, I mean, they did sign Ben Bishop. We forgot about that. How much money is he getting? A 6-year deal at 6.65. That's pretty good for a goalie at this point, I guess. He is 91 overall and has posted some really good numbers in St. Louis. So we'll see what he does in Florida. But that might be a really good Vezina Trophy winning goalie soon. And scratches Grabner and Dadonov. All right. The LA Kings, who won the Stanley Cup last season. Patrick O'Sullivan getting top line left wing time now over Ryan Smith. Obviously, we traded them O'Sullivan. He's playing with Kopitar and Brown now. Ryan Smith in the last year of his deal. We'll see if he heads to free agency. He's playing next to Drury and Wayne Simmons. Yeah, this is still looking like a strong team, especially on the left-hand side, with Eric Cole involved too. Defensively, Martin and Doughty. That's actually kind of a nice pairing. Second pairing's good. Third pairing, Martinez is finally getting a chance to play. He was losing morale because he's barely played the last 2 years, but should go up a little bit. And he's playing with the other Drew Doughty. See, literally, look, that's hilarious. They're actually going to utilize him. So we have our created Drew Doughty, who was drafted, obviously, in real life pretty high up. But so there's that. And then we have the young 18-year-old Drew Doughty, who wears number 28, not number 8, but number 28. And he was drafted late first round. Also a two-way defenseman. That is absolutely hilarious. And I really hope that guy stays with the Kings just like this Drew Doughty, because that would actually probably be the coolest thing ever. They both are not similar in terms of build, though. Like, obviously, the real one's 6'1", 215. This one is 6 feet, 190. But that is hilarious. And I don't think I've seen something like that in franchise mode in quite some time. Goalie is still Jonathan Quick and Jonathan Bernier. Scratches, Green, and Josh Anderson is healthy scratch too. Minnesota. Looking pretty damn good. Ryan Johansson's developed nicely. Playing next to Kovalev. Damn. Yeah, Minnesota actually looks decent. Good down the middle. Defensively, really good defensive core with that signing of Hjalmarsson. That's huge, really huge for them. Goalies, I mean, they have a 36-year-old Jaguar, so that's probably not the best. But they also do have Darcy Kemper still. And they do have healthy scratches that are good defenders too. So they might be a good defensive team. Montreal, obviously we traded them Sam Gagner. He's going to be playing top-line minutes with Mike Camilleri and Thomas Plekanec. How much money did they have to pay to Sam Gagner? $7.905 for 6 years. So we'll be interested to see what he does as a Hab. Obviously, he was good with us, but then he did not want to sign here. So we'll see if he actually produces. I think he's going to produce really well, especially next to a sniper like Camilleri, but it does suck that he didn't want to stay with us as long as we were hoping for. Defensively, Markov, Subban, damn, looking good. A little bit weak with Smirnov playing, but oh well. And in goalies, Carey Price has a 95 overall. God damn. He did win a Vezina recently too, I think, right? Yeah, he won a Vezina last season, so. And Habibulin is the scratch behind, or not the scratch, the backup behind him. All right. We head to the Nashville Predators, who signed a bunch of random players. Barkov will be getting top line time, so I appreciate the Preds for playing their second overall pick on the top line, like we're playing McKinnon on the second line. He's playing next to Boys and Erat. Hartnell, who they signed in free agency, is playing next to Legwand and Callahan. Korea's there, of course. Timo Solani, fourth line minutes. Jeff Tambellini's getting more of ice time than he is. That's kind of strange. But I applaud the Preds also for bringing in some players to surround Barkov with, like having Solani and Korea and stuff like that. Not a bad idea. Also Scott Hartnell for that matter. Defensively, Yossi Weber, oh my god, Hamius Larson, Parks, who is only a top 4, and Cody Franson. Good defensive core. Goalies, Pecorine is still there. Curtis McElhinney. Scratches, Torres, Huselius, and Boyle. Damn, they have some good scratches, too. New Jersey. Kovalchuk still getting top-line time next to Lombardi and Zubris. Parise is still there. How long has Parise signed for? 5 more years. Damn. He's getting a lot of money. Did win the Richard in the first year of this franchise mode, which is interesting. But, damn, this is an interesting Devils team. Not the strongest defensive core, but Ryan Whitney, after leaving us, became a top 2 defenseman. So, shout out to Whitney. And in goalies, Craig Anderson's there, of course. They did lose in the Cup Finals last season, so will be interesting to see how far they get this season. Islanders, Nugent Hopkins, Tavares, St. Louis still there. Wolski jumped up to an 88. Goddamn. Okay, I can kind of see why. So Phoenix didn't utilize Wolski well at all, and then he went to the Islanders, didn't play an entire season, but the season afterwards he blew up. So Wolski is looking really good, as he probably should have in real life, but he is playing next to Nielsen and Okposo. Lee, Eliash, and Bailey. Damn. Islanders have changed up quite a bit. Their defense is still kind of weak. And goalies, DiPietro is still there. How many more years left? 4 more years. Obviously, in real life, it would have been longer than that, but couldn't do a long-term 15-year contract or whatever it was. Rangers. Forsberg, Roy, Gaborik, Afanaganov, Dubinsky, Prospol, Frolov, Nilsson, and Kucherov. Why are they using Kucherov as a third-line right winger? He literally was the Calder winner last season, and they're playing him as a third-line guy. That's kind of a weird place to play him. He did have 77 points last season, too. Only 2 points in 5 playoff games last year, though, so a little bit bad in the playoffs, but definitely I would have him higher than Afanaganov. Gaborik, on the other hand, is only in the last year of his deal, so Gaborik might be a free agent this offseason, but damn. Rangers are looking really strong. They also signed Lupul, too, so their right side is stacked completely. And there's down the middle, they're strong, too. Left wing side, they're stacked. Yeah, this Rangers team might have just rebuilt it really quickly and actually might be competitive for 2014, like in real life. Damn. Their defense, of course, solid. Goaltending, still go with Lundqvist. Yeah, the Rangers could be a cup contender in 2014. As for the Ottawa Senators, looking pretty solid. Alfredsson's dropped off a lot now at this point, so that's why they brought in Burrows. And it's an interesting team. Zach Smith and Craig Smith playing together still like last year, I think. Defensively, Ekholm and Carlson, I actually really like that pairing, but the rest of these pairings are pretty bad. When like Eric Ryba's playing, that's not a great idea. And goalies, Vokun and John Gibson. I don't know about playing John Gibson yet, but not going to question them. Scratched Wismuller, who they drafted 29th overall. Actually, the LA Kings drafted 29th overall. And Jonathan Chichu. We head to Philadelphia now, who's still looking like a good team. Still have a really good top line. Scheifele's playing with Briere and Delano. Briere is still signed for 1 more year. Damn, yeah, this Flyers team's still competitive. They have young guys like Mark Stone, too. And then defensively, they did sign Zbigniew McCulloch. Their defensive core definitely has seen better days. Like Pronger's dropped off a cliff. But damn. And then goalies, Emery and Layton. Scratches, Mike Weber, Ryan Parent. We head to Phoenix. Jeff Skinner's getting top line time with Hansel and Stempniak. All right. This Yotes team is interesting. Bo Horvat getting 4th line ice time. Defensively, OEL hasn't really developed yet, which is surprising. I did only make him a top 4. Probably could have made him a bit higher than that. Oh well. Goalies, Brgskalov is still the starter as a 79. Is he losing a lot of morale because of how his team's been the last few years? Oh yeah, probably. Last year he was actually atrocious though too, so goddamn. He was really good in the playoffs when they made it 1 year, but damn, that's crazy. And Robin Leonard is the backup, or maybe even the starter, who knows. Some of these teams are very strange. Pittsburgh still looks like a good Pittsburgh team. Malkin, Crosby, Justin Williams. Pittsburgh having Justin Williams at this point should help them net a Stanley Cup because Mr. Game 7 could do it all. So him next to Crosby and Malkin, good top line. Kennedy, Stahl, Kunitz, Desharnais, Gotch, Morrison. Liam Reddick signed with the Penguins after we let him go. So see how Reddick plays as a full-time NHLer. Defensively, Brodin, Letang, Goligoski, Quincy, Leopold, Gonchar. Damn, Sergei Gonchar's also dropped off a cliff by 39. Wow, and he's still making $6 million with a no movement. So that's definitely a bit of a cap whale. And then goalies, Fleury and Toivonen. Scratches, Jackman and Jansen. San Jose. Still with Pavelski, even though he was on the block. Heatley, Thornton, Pavelski, Marlowe, Couture, Setaguchi. They still look good. Their bottom 6 is definitely weak. They do have a guy named Goalie as the 4th line center next to a guy named Clapperton. Defensively, yeah, I could definitely see that some of their best guys are dropping off. Like Dan Boyle's down to an 80. They still have not won a cup yet in this franchise mode either, so that's not great for them. Mike Smith is an 83. Thomas Greiss is the backup. Runeblad and some guy named Van Allen as scratches. We head to St. Louis. Perron, Sagan, and Oshie. Huberto, Berglund, and Backus. Damn, Berglund's jumped up to an 88. A lot of these guys are getting better growth than I thought they would. This is actually a really good Blues team, especially offensively. Defensively, their left side is atrocious, though their right side's pretty solid though with Johnson and Pietrangelo, but Alex Picard should not be a top 2 defender. Goalies, Halak and Biron. Obviously, they had to let go of Bishop in the offseason, and they still look good. So they should still do good with Halak as the starter. Gerby, Eller, and Festerini as scratches. Festerini's an elite guy that was drafted 2nd overall. He didn't play really good last year, though. 18 points in 62 games. Didn't get a lot of ice time, probably, though. That might be a guy that needs saving at some point, but goddamn. I mean, their left side is strong. I mean, they signed Brian Rolston, which they probably shouldn't have done, but damn. Tampa. Looking like a Tampa team. Elias Lindholm, the second-line center. Former 4th overall pick in this? Yeah, 4th overall pick. Looks like an okay team. Not as crazy as some of the other teams we've seen already, though. Goalies, Harding and Linus Ullmark has made it as a 19-year-old, even though he's listed as a starting goalie in the AHL. Nigel Dawes, Volchenkov is a scratch. Damn, Anton Volchenkov's had a rough time because he was really good early. He was one of the best free agents at one point, and now he's just going to be used maybe as a healthy scratch. Damn. Toronto's an interesting one. They've built up quite the team in the span of only a few years. Like, I didn't expect him to build this fast, but they have Hall, they have Connolly, Kessel. Radulov was brought in to play with Bozak and Johnny Gaudreau. Kuhlman, Henrique is a third-line center. Manny Malhotra now. Nino Niederreiter. Nazem Kadri is a fourth-line center. Like, they definitely have some really solid young talent. Defensively, it's more veteran-based, but they do still have Luke Shen. And then goalies, Jake Allen was brought in. Like, they definitely have brought in some good young players, and they've also brought in some solid vets to surround them with. So, shout out to the Leafs for actually doing stuff. Brian Burke was maybe actually on his game at this point. Vancouver, the two Sedins and Kessler still. Naslin's playing second line on the Canucks now. After a few years in Boston, it's kind of funny to see him return to Vancouver. He's going to be wearing number 90, though, which is kind of strange, but shout out to Marcus Naslund. Playing with Kyle Wellwood and Sergei Fedorov. Weird line. Weird line. That bottom 6 is pretty bad because Ray Whitney's dropped off a cliff, and you also got Jordan Schrader and stuff, so Defensively, Giordano Niskanen, Boschman, Edler, Ehrhoff, Hannon. That defense is good, though. And goalies still should be good with Luongo and Schneider. So maybe more of a defensive team with some really top-end offense, too. Brian Allen is a scratch. That's funny that he returned there. And some guy named Grant Corvo. All right. And lastly, the Washington Capitals. Still that same top line. Very nasty top line. Second line solid. Samuelson's a bit weak. Third line's good. Fourth line solid. Defensively, it's pretty good. I mean, it's kind of weird that they're playing Schultz and Lee as the second pairing over Orlov and Vishnevsky, or Vishnevsky, not Vishnevsky, but damn. And goalies, Holtby and Varlamov is still there. And Varlamov's only signed for one more year. So there is a chance that Semyon Varlamov might head to free agency because Holtby is basically that guy for them. Scratches, Wenberg and Tyler Sloan. So some interesting teams for 2013-14. Let's simulate a tiny little bit. I know I'm over an hour in terms of recording just because it took a long time to go through those teams, but let's simulate through the preseason at least and just see what this team does. Actually, maybe we'll simulate a few games of the actual regular season as well. But like I said, we got to make a decision with the goaltending and Vasilevsky and all that. But what does our coach think about our roster on paper? Let's first do the preseason stuff, do some conditioning. And season goal, what does he think about our roster? There's a lot of work to do before we can compete. It might take some time. Agree, yeah. We aren't going to be a playoff team yet, but I hope that we're not simulating terribly. Because I don't want to stunt anybody's growth on this roster too much. Or make any people angry and not sign like Sam Gagner. Alright, so yeah, we'll simulate through the preseason and we might simulate like the first 5 games of the regular season. And then we could make a decision next episode about Vasilevsky. Because he probably should be in the NHL. He probably should be. Colorado, we lose 7-4 in the preseason. Minnesota 5-2 win. Vancouver 4-1 loss. And then we beat Calgary 4-0. Let's just take a quick look at briefly how good the players were doing that preseason. Not that it matters too much, but Brule on 5 points, Nyquist on 4. Looks like some solid depth scoring. Yeah. Jankomov's had 2 goals in 4 games. Yeah. Anybody really underperform? Not too much. Mostly everybody had points that I wanted to. And in the goaltending, Grubauer was really good. Dubnyk, not so much. And Dubnyk actually, I guess, was okay. He had a shutout, so. All right. So there is that. Let's do 5 games of the regular season. And then, like I said, you guys need to help me out with the decision on Vasilevsky if he should be NHL bound this season, or do we give him half the year in the AHL, the next half in the NHL? But remember, there's that scratch guy that's in elite prospects, so got to make a decision rather quick, probably. All right, 5 games will do. So we got Calgary, Minnesota, Phoenix, Calgary, and Minnesota again. So let's go through these 5 games and just take a look at some stats and see what's going good for us in these first 5 games, potentially. Rick Rippon's on waivers. I would claim Rick Rippon at this point, just because, obviously, rest in peace to this guy, but I don't have any use for him. He's pretty much just as much as good as a lot of the other players in our bottom 6 in AHL, so we're just going to decline that. So far 1-0-1. If Phoenix is a loss, Calgary is a win, Minnesota is a win. 3-1-1 in our first 5. That's actually pretty good. That's pretty good. Obviously, I don't expect this to be like that all season long, but let's take a look at some of the stats in 5 games. I know it's early in the season, but I still want to see how things are going. Everybody on our team right now is under point per game, but I don't expect us to stay this way necessarily. So McKinnon's already leading the team of points as a rookie, 3 points. Nyquist has 3. Markou's already got 3. Damn. I didn't even check to see where these guys are, if they're on the power play or penalty kill too. We should probably address their special teams next episode too. Like, who do you guys think should be on the power play? Like, Cameron's got 2 points, Eberle's got 2, Hodgson's got 2. Foley's got his already first NHL goal. Jankomov's already picked up an assist. Jankomov's already has 8 penalty minutes. I feel like this guy's going to be friggin' crazy high in penalty minutes. Like, he already probably has a fight. No, he does not have a fight. Damn. Alright, anybody underperforming? Brule has no points so far. Like I said, Brule and Cogliano are guys that I might think about trading this season. And then defensively, Petrie's got 2. Spees has already got a goal. Falk has an assist. Not bad. Goalies. Dubnyk's actually been fantastic in the first 5 games. I don't expect him to stay like that, but interesting. What about the AHL team briefly? They've only played 4 games. I do want to take a look at Vasilevsky. He's been pretty bad, but he is listed as a backup goalie, so. Alright. So yeah, I don't know necessarily what we want to do in terms of who should be the backup goalie this season. Obviously, we could send Grubauer back down if we really want to, but I prefer probably to play the younger goalies, so maybe we still think about trading on from Dubnyk. But so far in our first few games with that winning record, we are 29th in goals for, first in goals against, 30th on the power play, and 2nd on the penalty kill. So our defense is shining through right now, but I don't expect it to stay like that all season long. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Edmonton Oilers Throwback 2010 franchise mode. So in next episode, we will simulate more of the season. We'll probably simulate up to the trade deadline around, just because it depends on, I guess, or maybe we'll do even halfway to part of the season, just because don't want to simulate too much in a way. We also do need to make sure I get a screenshot of Jordan Eberle in next episode, because obviously this episode I probably, for the thumbnail, not use Jordan Eberle yet because of the fact I don't have a screenshot of him unless I get one after this. But yeah, just let me know who you guys think should be, I guess, still the cover athlete in a way, because maybe we use Nathan McKinnon instead. Like, we definitely should probably go with somebody that's good on our team and all that type of thing. So let me know down below, and I'll see you guys next time.